Well, what is going on, everybody? It's just me for right now. Justin is on his way in. He will be here in just a little bit, probably in the next, 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes or so. But we dropped the link at the top of the chat, so make sure you go ahead and call in with whatever you got going on your mind tonight. Obviously, we're hitting it right off the top here. We said we're talking about how Trump saved college sports. That's what we're doing. So right off the top here, this is the release from the White House today. President Trump signed an executive order to protect college student athletes and collegiate athletics scholarships and opportunities, including an Olympic and non-revenue programs and the unique American Institution of College Sports. Now, the big thing through all these bullet points here, the big thing I want you to really hone in on is where it's talking about, it's that second bullet point. It is talking about the order that prohibits third-party pay-for-play payments to college athletes. This does not apply to legitimate fair market value compensation that a third party provides to an athlete, such as for a brand endorsement. For example, Dylan Raiola has signed with Adidas, or he signs with another third-party company. That would be a third-party deal that is allowed. Now, this is the goal of this, in my understanding, is to essentially get rid of the backdoor channels that is happening right now, where you're seeing guys getting paid, where we actually just talking about the other day, where guys are getting paid, $20, $30, $40,000 for commitment. This would get rid of stuff like that. So I want to know your thoughts on that. Make sure you hit the call in line. I'm going to go ahead and bring in Mike real quickly here. What's going on? I'm Mike.
Hey, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. I actually just saw that. I had a chance to read it, so that's pretty interesting. I'm going to have to read through that.
Yeah, I got another little slide we'll pull up here in a little bit too. I got a lot of slides on my screen, so I didn't even see you hiding down there in the chat there.
So I actually called in. I know one of my previous calls I said I was worried about the defensive line. Mm-hmm. But I'm looking on our website, or on Huskers.com here, and let me tell you, we got some beef on the defensive line.
We
really do.
Anywhere
from 320, was it 320 to 260? I mean, that's an average of what, 275, 285, something like that?
It is big.
Yeah. So just for example, Cam Lenhart has put on 10 pounds. He's now up to 270. Riley Van Poppel, 295. Like, we got some dogs up there, it looks like. We might be better off than I thought we were.
Yeah, when Justin and I were getting ready for the Tuesday live show, we were talking about this before we even dove into the show. And I was like, I did not realize how big some of these dudes have got. I mean, I just lost it where it goes. Suelo Fotu, who I think is probably going to be a rotational guy. He's probably going to be a guy on a lot of heavy formations, 6'5", or 6'3", 300 pounds. You already mentioned RVP, basically 300. Look at Elijah Judy. Last year he played at about 275. He's playing at 300 right now. That's what they have him listed at. Even Mason Goldman, who I think is going to see some snaps this year as a defensive end, is up to 270. Dylan Parrott, probably a big short yardage defensive tackle, is up to 320. Landon Davidson, who moved over from the offensive line, is at 305. So it is quite shocking. You're right, how big some of these dudes are.
Yeah. Another one that kind of surprised me is John Hole. Hole went from 180 to 195, which, granted, not much, for a kicker, but still 15 pounds is 15 pounds. Dawson Merritt, 15 pounds. He's up to 225. Yeah, and I understand those aren't defensive players like we were talking, but still, that's some impressive gains on here.
Well, what's impressive too with Dawson is he came in the winter and was hurt. He had off-season shoulder surgery, so he didn't get fully healthy and cleared for physical activity until probably late spring. So he's put on that 15 plus pounds since high school, literally in the last month and a half, 2 months, maybe 2.5 at the absolute most. You can look at Christian Jones too. He's up to 235 right now. That's real big for a true freshman.
Yeah, the biggest jump I see right now, going back to defense, is probably Jalen George. He came in at 260, and he's at 285 now.
Yes, and again, same as Dawson Merritt, off-season shoulder surgery or whatever. He got hurt in the spring, and he still was able to put on that weight. What do you think with Jalen George? Do you think he's a guy that's going to play a lot? I mean, I think he'll be a rotational guy, but what are your thoughts on Jalen?
I think he'll be a rotational guy. I have read a few, this is, fans and stuff talking, so take that with a grain of salt. But I have heard he struggles against the run a little bit, which kind of worries me. But, coaching, change of technique, stuff like that, maybe that'll fix that. So,
my biggest concern with him is his size at 6'2". I think that 6'3" is being generous.
Yeah. Yeah. He's the one, he came from Mississippi State, is that correct?
Jalen George came from, I believe, East Tennessee.
Oh, East Tennessee, okay.
I'm double checking right now. East Tennessee State. The one you're thinking of that came from Mississippi State is Gabe Moore.
Okay, Gabe Moore. All right. Yeah, I was gonna say, well, at least he has some SEC experience, but that's Gabe, like you said. So
yeah.
It's the other one that's going to be really interesting to me, and I understand he was good at his previous school, is Marquise Watson Trent. Great player. Great player. Big Ten's a whole different animal, though. So I'm curious to see how some of these guys adapt to Big Ten.
There was some people thinking that Marquise Watson Trent could be a guy that Nebraska has as an all-conference defender. Just because of his track record. I'm trying to find him on this roster here, but I'm having a hard time scrolling and talking at the same time. But I believe he had like 100 and something tackles last season at where was he at? Georgia Southern?
Georgia Southern, yeah, because he was he came here after they beat us a couple of years ago.
That's right. Yes, that was the team that got Scott Frost fired, isn't it?
Yes, that is correct.
Here's his honors and awards at Georgia Southern. So, Sun Belt Conference Defensive Player of the Year. I don't care what conference you're in. I think that's pretty impressive, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Honorable mention, All-American in 2023. Two-time first team All-Sun Belt 23 and 24. Second team All-Sun Belt in 2022. And he was also the Sun Belt Defensive Player of the Week on multiple occasions. So, I mean, the dude's definitely got some cachet behind the hype that we're seeing right now. Had 26 tackles for loss, 6 sacks, and 8 pass breakups in his career, which he's not a guy that we're expecting to be an edge rusher, but more of a run stopper. 118 tackles last season, 7.5 for loss, 1.5 sacks. Total, I think, career tackles, he'd probably be top 10 all time in Nebraska.
Crazy.
And he's not, he's 5'11".
Yeah, exactly. And we've had some good linebackers and come through here. So, but yeah, hey, we're getting close. Fall camp starts Monday.
Fall camp starts Monday. I'm off work for 3 weeks, so I imagine I'm going to be glued to X trying to find as much information I can that gets put out by all the people. I imagine people will get to attend some practice this week, right? Or next week.
Right. I don't know what he came in at, but I see Marquise Watson Trent's up to 225 now.
Yeah. I don't know what he was listed at last year, but 225 is really good for a guy at 5'11", with speed, physicality wise. He plays a lot bigger than 5'11", 225. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So
his film is just real fun to watch.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, just watching him when he was here at Nebraska, he even made some of our guys look kind of silly. So
yeah.
But hey, I encourage everybody to call in. That's what the show's for. So I'm gonna get off here. I gotta go see what my son wants, but I will listen to you on the chat.
Sounds good. Thank you for calling in, sir.
Yeah, have a good one.
You as well. Great call, as always, by Mr. Mike. Thank you for calling in. We have just dropped the link in the stream there, or in the comments there, so you can click that link. Video is not required. Obviously, you just saw Mike come in with no video, but Kind of back to this White House release. The other one I was interested in was this right here that was presented by Congress or to Congress, basically establishing, if you will, a potential for a CBA is what we've been talking about a lot on this channel. This bill, I'm just going to read verbatim right from this so we can all be on the same page here. But this bill, perhaps a long shot to pass in this Congress, serves as a reminder of what could transpire in the future of college sports industry. Barrels toward a more professionalized model with the approval of the House Settlements Athlete Revenue Share concept. The bill would amend the National Labor Relationships Board Act to cover both private and public universities and require the board to recognize conferences and schools as multi-employer bargaining units. The bill establishes equitable terms and conditions for college athletes to choose representation in order to negotiate collective bargaining agreements. And then in quotes, I believe this is one of the persons that introduced the bill. College athletes exhibit the markets of employment as established under the common law definition of the term employee, the bill says. The NCAA and its member institutions have denied college athletes a fair wage for their labor by colluding to cap compensation. They maintain strict and exacting control over the terms and conditions of college athletes' labor, and they exercise the ability to terminate an athlete's eligibility to compete if the athlete violates these terms and conditions. So, gotta get that background up. There we go. So essentially, you might be looking at, if this bill somehow makes it through all the channels of our government, which when the government gets involved, you know it's going to be incredibly efficient. You very well could be having a CBA coming into college sports. And I don't know how you feel about that. That's why this is the college show. You call in, you share your thoughts kind of on what you think this could mean for college sports. Now, from Nebraska's sake, we're going to have plenty of money. It's not going to be a huge problem for us. I'm not worried about us financially being able to do this, but I want to know your thoughts as well. Now we'll scroll back up here on my screen, get into the comments. Mr. Justin Rogge, GBR, as always, you were first today. Bone-led, corn-fed, throw the bones at people. I don't know what you mean by throw them at people, but yeah, throw the bones. My kids are having fun upstairs. All right. What you going to do when Nebraska runs wild? What you going to do? Ron T, what up? Yo. Joseph, how we doing? That's my wife. Hello. Never mind me. Malcolm, Ozzy, and Hulk in 5 days. Cheer me up, Husker Nation. My childhood is dying rapidly. Yeah, that's a tough one. I remember my wife got home from work and she said, Hulk Hogan died today. And I was like, yeah, he did. They always die in threes. Have you noticed that? It's always in threes. It's very weird. What's y'all thoughts on a transfer big NILG? Please be more specific there. Being Gavin a starting slot, Pritchett automatically getting starting spot. Okay. Well, Coach Rule in Big Ten Media Days was pretty, perfect. Joseph is calling in right now. Bring him in here. It's not letting me add you. Trying to add you, Joseph, but it's not popping up. Try backing out and coming back in. Okay. Pritchett automatically getting a starting spot. I don't think, let me backtrack. It was Coach Rule who said at Big Ten Media Days that Gunnar Katula could certainly be an option for Nebraska at both left and right tackle. I think that was by design because he certainly hears a lot of the outside noise about Pritchett being a lock at left tackle or whatever, right? So everything we've heard is that Pritchett's been really good. He's really locked in. He's reshaped his body. He's down to 325, which is still huge for an offensive lineman. Well, still big, but he was a little overweight from what I heard coming into camp. So he's down to 325. But he's also a guy you're paying in excess $800,000+ in NIL. So this has always been my concern with NIL, with rev share, is when you have so much money invested in an individual, how do you not they get into that situation where you're almost forced to play them because of how much money you're paying them. And now Coach Rule did say too, one of their top earners didn't play a lot last year. Who was that? I don't know. I think it was probably, what was his name? The offensive lineman from Florida. Just drew a blank on his name. Mazuka. I think he was definitely one of the higher paid guys because he was technically a walk-on. And so they had to give him a ton of NIL to pay for a scholarship and everything like that as well. There we go, Joseph. Backed out. Now call back in. I don't know what's going on with StreamYard. Every time I click to add you to the stage, it is not letting me add you to the stage. So if you just call back in, we'll go over whatever it is you want to talk about, buddy. I heard they will be using Mosey as a running back. Not only will they have officially converted him to running back. So real quickly here, I'm going to go pull up the Huskers roster again because I believe he's also added some weight since he enrolled as well. Let's take a look here. Isaiah Mosey. He did change his number too. He was, I think, 86 or 84 or something like that. Yep. Isaiah Mosey. Number 22 running back, 210 pounds and 6 foot tall. Now, not only will they be using him at running back, I have always said with Isaiah, if you remember back in West Virginia, back when Dana Holgorsen was the offensive coordinator there, they had a player or a couple guys. One of them was, I believe his name was Steve Slayton, and the other one, I just drew a blank on his name, but has one of the greatest highlight tapes you will ever see. And they're running back, wide receivers, they move them all over the field. They get them the ball in jet sweeps, bubble screens, out of the backfield. That's what they're going to do. At least that's what I envision they are going to do with a guy like Isaiah Mosey. He averaged like 10 yards per carry as a senior from the running back position. He had, I believe, like 700 or 800 yards rushing his senior year at Lee Summit North as a running back. And that's not including all of his receiving stats. There's a reason why he's committed to Oregon, because they have such a great history of using guys with that skill set. So that is what I think Nebraska sees, is that Steve Slayton role that they had at West Virginia under Dana Holgorsen when Pat White was the quarterback. And please, somebody remind me of the other receiver's name. Tavon Austin. Greatest highlight tape you will ever watch. Spend 15 minutes, watch his highlight tape at West Virginia. That is what they see with Isaiah Mosey. David, I love this channel. Thank you, David. Appreciate that. We got the link in the comments. So please, if you guys have anything to say, want to talk about whatever, as long as it's not politics, click that link, call on in. Is the extra weight going to slow them down? Well, here's the thing, and Justin would probably be able to give you better examples, scientifically speaking, about why they will not slow down with that added weight. But it's not like when I go from 215 to 230, and it's because I'm eating pizza and I'm eating Cheetos or whatever. Like, these guys are gaining healthy weight. They're probably dropping body fat and increasing muscle mass. So they're not going to slow down a lot, or if at all, per se. I mean, Heinrich Harburg is 230 plus pounds. He still is one of, if not the fastest guys on the roster. And that is after he gained 15 plus pounds in the offseason. Think back to that spring game. And Wilson McGahee is another guy too. He's up to 235, 240-ish. Think back to that spring game when they did that race, and Wilson McGahee and Heinrich Harburg were both in the finals and damn near beat Ja'Cory Barney. Joseph, I see you called in. I don't know why. Can you hear us, Joseph? Let's try that. Can you hear me, Joseph? Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. All righty. I'm going to remove Joseph real quick while we continue to figure out what's going on. I can see you there. I just can't hear anything you're saying, Joseph. Exactly, Mike. Who's calling in? Ohio State fans, call in. We've had them calling before. We had Jackson Johnson from Bama calling in. Whatever, I don't care who your favorite team is, just give us a call. What up, Pit Snipe? Pit Snipe, it's been a while since you've been in the chat. What's been going on with you lately, Pit Snipe? Dropping the link right there in the comments. So we'll move over a little bit to, I know it's not basketball season, but I know we typically we'll spend some time on basketball. Now, Nebraska just landed a commitment from 4-star small forward Colin Rice. So you can see here is a 247 profile, 6'7", 180 pounds from Waukee, Iowa, class of 2026. 247 composite has him as a top 120 player. He's the 45th ranked small forward in the country and the 3rd ranked player in Iowa. Now, here's the thing with Colin Rice. Offer-wise, when he committed, I posted on Twitter that his recruitment was starting to speed up a little bit. We got Troy in. What's going on, Troy?
Not bad.
Right
that's
there.
my real name. I'm bone-led corn-fed. But anyways, yeah, no problem. You were talking about like that bill earlier. So does that mean if they violate any of the rules in that bill, that if you've already paid them the nil money, that they have to give you that nil money back?
What do you mean exactly? Like,
well,
give me an example of the situation.
Okay, like let's say they pay Brian Moore $3 million in nil to play for him, and he violates one of the rules in the bill. Okay, would Brian Moore then have to give them that nil money back, or revenue sharing or whatever, or is it his to keep?
Well, I'm going to pull the bill back up and we'll read through it here. Let's see. The order directs the assistant to the president of domestic policy and director of White House public liaison consult, blah, blah, blah. I don't care about that part. I don't know. That's a great question. Now, I would imagine, you remember a couple weeks ago when you called in, we were talking about being stipulations around NIL and rev share and stuff like that, where you can get more based on performance, or we threw out the idea of like having a good GPA or whatever. And then if you did something that was defamatory or that brought negative light onto the program as a whole, you could have your NIL cut. Might be something similar to that. But part of it now too is with the essentially the collective bargaining agreement that they're going to have. They're going to have so many lawyers making shitloads of money on this, where I imagine there's going to be something in there that protects the players from that example where you get that money pulled back or where you have to pay that money back. Because I know right now, like even with high school recruits that are getting paid for a commitment, they have it written where they have to essentially, now this is before this stuff happened, but they have to pay back what they've made from Nebraska if they decommitted, or Oregon, or whoever that's offering the money.
Okay, that's fine. And I watched Coach Rule's Big Ten press conference, and I was impressed by it. He had spoke very highly of our defense and thinks we're going to have another top 25 defense. And he himself thinks that our offensive production, namely our offensive line, is the most improved thing on this team. That's going to be something to see, I mean, especially the coach saying that. Is he just saying it to say it, or is it, dead on?
Well, I think Coach Rule has always been a pretty straight shooter. If you recall back his first year when things weren't going great, he's like, this is what you hired me for. Like, this is a process. It takes time. In that same press conference yesterday, he mentioned like we are really close to being almost a final product where we could go compete for the playoffs and championships. So I think he truly believes that. Now, I said this before. I think, and I would agree that the offensive line is probably the best, because he said it was like the best group it's been or something like that, didn't he?
Well, yes, but then somebody I think I saw there was Kyle Crooks and Damon Benning. I think Kyle asked him if this offensive group is going to be better than the one in Baylor. And Rule couldn't necessarily say that it would be, but he said it's comparable to it. So,
Well, that Baylor offense, if I'm not mistaken, he had, I think, 3 top 3 round draft picks, if not more, from that offense.
I
think
believe
one
so.
maybe All-American.
Correct.
Who on this roster right now do you think could be an All-American on the offense?
On the offense?
If it were to match Baylor's productivity when he was there, you need at least 1 or 2 all-conference guys, maybe 3, to be on the, even comparatively speaking, close to that offense.
Well, let's see. I would either say Nayor, maybe Bonner, maybe Emmett Johnson, maybe Mosey, maybe Dillon. It just depends how, their consistency. If their consistency is lacking, or like, let's say Dillon throws to the same guy 10 times and the guy doesn't catch the ball 10 times. Well, it's like, come on, granted, yes, we're all human, but at the same time, are you defined by the one catch you make that helps your team, beat Michigan, or are you defined as the overall product by what you do throughout the year? And I would say the latter, but some people would disagree, but I would still say the latter.
Yeah, I would rather take a consistent production throughout the whole season over a couple big catches here and there. Now, in terms of Nebraska's skill players, I think it's the best we've had going back to Bo Pelini. I think you have Dane Key, who can be maybe an honorable mention or a third team All Big Ten. Now, keep in mind, too, there's 18 teams in this conference, right? 18 or 16. Being an all-conference first, second, or third team, you are a borderline All-American at that point. And Dane Key would be one to watch.
Yeah, I forgot about him. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'd watch Justin Evans at center. I don't, maybe Emmett could be an all-conference guy. I don't think so right now, at least. There's just so much running back talent in this conference, and even wide receiver too. For that matter. I think it's going to be a good offense. I don't think it's going to be a great offense, if I'm being totally honest. I think there's a lot of moving parts right now. It's the first full season with Dana Holgorsen. Can they score 30 points a game? Maybe. If you score 30 a game, you're probably going 8-4, 9-3, right? So I think the big year is probably a year or 2 away. I think this is just going to be another good year, a step in that direction, and the big year's still, you're looking at 2026 or 2027 for that big jump, I think. Just my opinion, though.
Yeah. Well, do you think Rocco Spindler could be an All-American since he used to play for Notre Dame and he's on the offensive line? We forget, that All-Americans can be like on the offensive line or defensive line, or other positions, other than just offense, like receiver or whatever. I think Rocco's going to be, because he'll block so good, there'll be a lot better production out of the running game, so I think he will be, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong, but
part of like an All-American too is you have to win, generally speaking, or even an all-conference. Nebraska, like the fact that Ty Robinson was like third team all-conference last year. He's probably one of the best defensive tackles in the conference. But we didn't win a lot. So could Rocco be an all-American? Could he? Absolutely. Will he? Probably not. Would he be a second team all-conference guy? Possibly. But again, Nebraska has to win, and they have to be consistent at doing this, at dominating the run game, not having a bunch of sacks. Think back to Nebraska versus Iowa last year. We dominated their offensive line, and they had 2 All-Americans, I think, or 1 All-American and 2 All Big Ten conference players on that offensive line that was average at best. And it's because they have a consistent track record of pumping out NFL offensive linemen and going 8-4, 9-3, 10-2. So we just don't have that respect that like a program like Iowa has on that specific position.
That's true, but we also held Ohio State to 1 first down running. So, if you want to, I mean, if you want to go there, I mean, I'll say, well, we held Ohio State to only 1 first down running. Well, people forget that, and to have a good defense do something like that, well, that's fabulous. Granted, I don't know what happened against Indiana. I mean, either we weren't prepared or lack of effort or what it was. I don't know, but you know, but for what it's worth, to hold Ohio State, the national champion, to 1 first down, I don't think any of the other playoff teams even did that. I don't think,
I don't think so.
you know, so that goes to say a lot, and if the size of our guys, are going to change a lot of things. I'm curious to see how good our defense is really going to be, because Rule, I think, said we're going to be like an attacking defense, and stuff like that. So I want to see how good we are, and maybe the first, 3 games, well, maybe Cincinnati might tell us something, but the first 3 games are kind of deceiving. But when we get in to play Michigan, that should tell us a lot about us, because the first 3 games, I don't really consider Cincinnati weak, but it's a winnable game. But then the other 2 teams, Houston Christian and Akron, we should destroy them. But we've had times where we don't destroy teams that we should. But well, thank you very much. I appreciate you taking my call, and I'll just wait and listen to the show.
Sounds good. Thank you for calling in, Bone. Appreciate it.
You bet.
I will go ahead and drop the link real quickly here. And then I'm going to dive back into Nebraska basketball's next sharpshooter, which we were talking about when Bone called in. But Colin Rice, 6'7" wing, small forward, 180 pounds. That's my big concern. Off the rip right here. Awfully skinny. Obviously, he's a class of 2026 kid. He's going to have to put on 20 plus pounds at minimum just to see the floor, in my opinion, especially in the Big Ten. But we kind of left off on his offer list here. Nebraska, Northwestern, Illinois is a big offer. Iowa's a decent offer. Colorado is all right. They won 20 plus games last year. So a decent offer list, but his recruitment was really starting to kind of stack bigger name schools. And Nebraska brought him in like a month or so ago, maybe a month and a half ago for an official visit. And everything went really well. And then right after that visit is when Illinois offered. And they're consistently a top 15 team, as we all know. And that kind of concerned me a little bit. I believe he took an official visit there, and Nebraska somehow maintained their momentum through that visit, landed his commitment today. A little bit on him as a sophomore or junior last year. Let me find his stats. Where'd they go? So last season at Joaquin Northwest, he averaged 12.5 points a game, which is okay. 7.2 rebounds, which is pretty solid. He shot 54% from the field, which is really good, and 38% from 3, which is okay. It's a decent number, but for high school and for Waukee, Iowa, you should be probably dominating, if I'm being totally honest. He's a developmental guy. Nebraska's probably going to bring him in redshirt his first season. But again, kind of like the kid from Lincoln that redshirted this past season. Going to be a big-time factor for Nebraska, I think, next season. So this is a pretty big commitment for Nebraska. Like we said, he's a 4-star recruit. He's got a lot of potential. It's just about, honing in on his skills right now over the next year or so before he ends up enrolling at Nebraska. And then I am going to dive into some comments. I'm going to give it about 10 or 15 more minutes if anyone wants to give us a call. And then if not, we will be out of here. So I remember this comment from John. Could Harburg play safety? Could he? Yeah. Just like my dad, anytime I ask him, can something happen? Well, yeah, absolutely. He could. Will he? Definitely not. At 6'4", 6'5", 230 plus pounds, Nebraska likes his athleticism, his speed, his ability to catch the ball in space at tight end. I really think Nebraska is going to use Harburg as a more athletic Travis Kelce. And what I mean by that is he's going to flex out a lot in the slot. They're going to motion him. You may even see some formations where they're like in a pistol formation, and then Heinrich is off to the side. Have him come out of the backfield on a wheel route, on an out route, on a flag route, something like that. There's a lot you can do with a guy like Harburg with his skill set, his speed, his athletic ability as well. Pitt says, I've been getting killed by broken stuff. It's been 7 or 8 before I'm getting back to my chair. Are we needing safeties, John? Great question, Joseph. No, we do not need any safeties. We probably could, but I think his ball skills as offensive IQ are too valuable on that side of the ball. I've brought this up many times, so I'm glad you mentioned this Pitt night. Now, was he a good quarterback? No, he was not a good quarterback. But him being in that QB room for the last, 2-3 years does have a lot of benefits as a tight end. When he's lined up in the slot, he has the ability to see the whole field just like he did as a quarterback. So if he's running an option route where it's a hitch, an out, an in, or a post, or a go, whatever that option route is, usually there's 2 or 3 options within the option route. He very likely will be able to see how the defense is aligned, figure out if they're in a cover 2, they're in cover 3, maybe they're in man, and he will pre-snap be able to make a decision. Okay, based on this coverage, I'm running a hitch, or my option's going to be out, or I'm going to make a post, whatever that option is, based on the pre-snap alignment, because he knows what he's looking for from a quarterback's perspective. So he's going to be kind of on the same wavelength as Dylan. Now, obviously, post-snap, you could be showing cover 3, then post-snap 2 safeties bail, and the third safety comes down as a robber, and now you're in a cover 2. That could change. But again, as a quarterback, he has that ability to decipher that stuff very quickly. Now, he didn't do it great as a quarterback, but he should be decent as a tight end. I thought we were thick with safeties, Singleton and a half dozen others that I can't name. Yeah, we got a ton of safeties. Plus, I think Nebraska's probably, guess who just got here?
What up?
Look who it is. I'm going to switch this real quick here.
Sorry, my therapy went a little over, but I made it nonetheless.
We had Mike call in. We had Bone a little bit ago. We were talking a little bit about Trump saving college sports, and then a little bit about what you tagged me on Twitter with the CBA essentially, and then a little bit of Nebraska's new basketball commit.
Yeah. Generally speaking, what's the high-level overview on the Trump saving college football? Been mixed bag, because there's a little bit of kind of what I had retweeted, where it was talking about this doesn't apply to like the NIL, like what was it called? I forget how exactly they worded it. Let me pull it up here. I just want to be specific with the wording that they had in the document itself. But it was more so about like, it's the executive order prohibits third-party pay-for-play payments, but does not apply to legitimate fair market value compensation that a third party provides to an athlete, such as for brand endorsement.
Which I compared to Dylan being signed with Adidas, which he's been signed there since before he enrolled at Nebraska, but they kind of did a big public release this summer.
Yeah.
That would be your fair market third-party deal.
Correct. Yeah. And so I don't think it's as drastic like when it was first posted, and the way it read, like just with the high-level overview that they said, sounded like NIL was gone, almost. But so for me, like, how much does that really change, the college football landscape in regards to, because people are talking about it'll level the playing field, competition wise, but how is that really going to level the competition field playing wise? I don't think it makes that big of a difference there.
My big question is, you cannot audit these kids' bank accounts.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you know that I'm not giving you $500 under the table, $10,000? I mean, we had issues forever
before NIL. Yeah.
So unless they are, this is where the CBA part comes in.
Yes.
And being able to
that's important.
Have them as employees.
Correct. That's the biggest thing, is they don't want them to be considered employees. They want them to still be considered amateur, athletes. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the big distinction that they want. Whereas under the Biden administration, I think it was there where they kind of made them employees. And so I think that's where the biggest kind of differentiator is. I don't really understand why it occurred, but I do get it to an extent with the amateur, not wanting them to be professional, keeping that amateur And we were talking about it was getting a little out of control. But I think the biggest thing now is that collective bargaining agreement is really important. And they gotta really kind of sift through this stuff and see where it lands and kind of fits best for everybody, because at the end of the day, we know college football needs to change, but we don't know, I don't think, how exactly to fix it. I think that's where it comes onto the players. I don't necessarily know if Trump knows how to fix it, but that's where the conversations need to be had, and everybody can put their own opinions in the hat and go from there. I think that's the biggest step they need to do here, is just kind of get a bunch of different opinions from everybody who's going to be involved. And, players are going to fight for their pay and how much, whatever compensation they can get. And they got to all meet in the middle somewhere.
Well, I think Nebraska makes, $75 million from their TV deal.
Yep. Something like that.
Nebraska players 100% deserve a cut of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But my problem or my concern is they're going to try and make this an even playing field, in the sense where if you're Dylan Raiola, you get the same percentage as, say, Joe Blow, who's a walk-on and doesn't play. And they are not the same. You know what I mean? And it's not to be rude, but I'm going to watch Dylan. I'm not going to watch some dude that's never going to play. And my fear is they're going to try and make this an even playing field. And then your separator is your third-party deals, sponsorships with, some car dealership or Adidas or whatever.
Gotcha. Okay. Can you back up? Come back in. I'm already echoing. Y'all know how this goes. But sorry, let me get through some of y'all's comments here. Let's get one more call in. Let's go. Mike is on it. Hunter Carberry QB experience will make him a great safety at the pro level. Welcome back, sir.
No echo?
Nope. So yes. So in your regards, so what you're saying it's going to kind of be is basically they get paid the same, and then the endorsements is what take it to the next level.
That's my fear, is what they're going to try and do it.
What they're going to try. Yeah.
Because you're going to have a larger percentage of players that are not the Dylan Raiolas or the DJ Lagways or the Archie Mannings that are saying, like, where's my cut?
Yeah.
And there was that report that came out, I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, about Michael Locksley losing the locker room at Maryland because there was a handful of players that were making substantially more than everybody else. And, I think in the NFL, it's easier to handle because it's public knowledge, right?
Yeah.
So-and-so signed a $67 million contract. Whereas here it's not.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah. I think the biggest thing is I think the biggest thing I'm tired of is them trying to force an even playing field. I think that's the biggest thing is even at the pro level, there's disparities in franchises, right? And so, other teams have built, this foundation and built up to this so they could go after, Nebraska is not just like they were thrown money, right? They've had to build up that NAL and they've had to change things. It's not like there wasn't a strategy to this. And they've allotted that money to, college football. So since other teams don't have the same amount of money, don't pay as much attention to finding ways to get that income, or they give that money to other, sports or whatever, so because they're at a disadvantage, then we need to it's kind of like a socialism of college football almost. It's and not equality of opportunity. We want equality of outcome. And that's where things get real dicey, because we shouldn't be looking for equality of outcome. Other teams should be stepping up and finding ways to get their way and climb their way up there.
Yeah.
That's college football. Recruiting, that's building. That if it's like that, it takes away everything that we've kind of known college football to be, which it's slowly ripping that away as it is.
Yeah, I love NIL. I don't like where it is. And I've always said, I
agree.
This has gone so far out of control where I don't know if you can stop what has started, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
because when it first launched, there was no regulations. There was nothing.
It's a Wild West.
And it was 2-3 years before they tried to get a grip on it. And at that point, you're so far down the tracks, you cannot come back. Where you're at that point is now your baseline, and it was a complete disaster.
Yep.
And it's just setting up for failure.
That's why the entire rollout was a complete catastrophe, because they should have known there was going to have to be structure. However, the problem is, for that to happen, it would have had to take more time. And it turned into this race against the clock to just, y'all can get paid now. And then it's like, we'll figure it out as we go. And that's where the problem lies. It's hard to figure these things out as you go, because you got people actively giving money. And it's like, when do you implement that? Okay, now do these deals go away? You got active deals and stuff like that going. It's like, good luck. That's kind of like you said, the snowball. Good luck dialing that back in. We got Joseph calling in. What's up, Joseph? Appreciate you calling in, brother.
What is up? Husker Wrestling, as always.
Yes, sir.
Here we
You already
go.
know.
Third time's charm.
Yeah, I tried earlier and I kept losing my internet connection. But
Okay. I kept saying, like, I'm fairly confident everything's done right. I just couldn't hear anything.
yeah, no, for some reason I just kept losing my internet connection. But anyway, I got a couple thoughts. We were talking earlier about defensive line, and I'm not saying anything that we all don't know, but I really do think complementary football is going to be the key to our defensive line. If we're in a 10-10 battle late in the fourth, and the other team can pick and choose whether they're going to pass or run, our D-line might be in trouble. If we can jump out ahead of the sticks, if we could jump out ahead and be maybe, in the lead on those games late in the game, I think our D-line is going to flourish. Now, this is kind of goes unsaid, and it's kind of, oh, yeah, great, Captain Obvious. But I do think we might be in trouble if it's late in the game that scores 20-20. It's 3rd and 4 compared to like 3rd and 8. I just don't know if our D-line will hold up throughout the whole season in those situations. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on that. I mean, some of it's, I think, Captain Obvious, like, well, yeah, I mean, obviously you want to be up, you want to be in the lead, but that's sort of my thoughts on the questioning of our defensive line.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing that I'll say in terms of, being in those situations is we saw it a lot in the Boston College bowl game, but it's going to be more than just the D-line coming up and trying to stop the run, or there's going to be so many linebackers moving around and shooting gaps. And there's going to be so much, like, there's going to be a lot of support behind that D-line as well. And I think John Butler knows probably better than anybody kind of how to defend situationally, like not better than anybody, but just being in the NFL, like, they can throw anything at you offensively. They're way more, there's so many more things that they can throw at you. And that's why I think he's prepared for this. And I feel like they have a confidence in this, the interior D-line right now. I think our edge rushers are good, but I think that's why, part of the reason why they've got so many like hybrid style players that can, be situational and move around. I think that's part of the plan in those situations, is just put a personnel unit out there that is specifically for balance. Okay, are we going to run? Are we going to pass here? Here's the personnel unit. Is it pass only downs? Here's the personnel unit. And I think each one of those is going to have. I think each one of those units is going to be very strong. I think he's going to have the right 11 people out there. I don't think it's going to be put on any one defensive line or anything like that. It's all about doing your job. The 1 of 11, doing your job. And I think they're going to teach them to do their job. I think they're going to put them out there in packages that make sense. So there's going to be a lot of subbing and stuff like that for sure.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I also think that Butler is going to be more aggressive come 3rd down, no matter what whether it's 3rd and 3, 3rd and 8. I think he's going to be a little bit more aggressive, and that might burn us at times, but it might, there's going to be other times where it's going to be prosperous. The other sort of thing that I sort of had in mind was I've heard some other people talk about like Elijah Pritchett. They're not going to bring him in and pay him all this money if they're not going to start it. And a part of me that drives me nuts because I really think we got some good guys in the offensive line that maybe haven't had a lot of, like Tyler Kanak. I thought Gatula did really good when he was put in last year, but I really think I don't care what they pay you. I don't care where you came from. I think you still got to earn your spot. And I don't want to just give that guy the left tackle, which is, I don't know if they've announced it or I don't care about either tackle, right tackle or left tackle. It's like, I still think the job should be up for, you got to earn them. I don't know what I've heard some other podcasts sort of be like, well, we're not going to pay a guy to bring him in to be a backup. And I'm like, well, why not? I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Brian, I'll let you take this one. So I took last one and then I'll hop in after you.
Okay. So we talked about this a little bit earlier, and I'm of that notion where like, yeah, you're paying a lot of money, but you still have to earn it. And I think that's why Coach Rule mentioned Gunnar Katula being able to play left and right. And it's because he hears that hype. He wants to kind of slow it down. Because I think you mentioned Tyler Kanak. I think he's going to be your right tackle or Gunnar Gatula, potentially. And so, yeah, he does have to earn it. But everything you've heard about Pritchett right now is telling you that this kid is going to be a bookend left tackle if he puts it all together. And so I think they're going to give him that opportunity first, as opposed to Gunnar Gatula, even though Gunnar Gatula has proved it. And I think what's going to happen is if he struggles early, they'll pull him and they'll put Gunnar in. I think that's what they're going to do.
I can see that. Yeah, I can see that.
And look at Micah Mazuka last year. He didn't play basically the entire season. We paid him pretty good bit of money to come in. And so I think
good point.
I think Matt Rule's so much about culture that it's not as simple as, oh, we're paying them this much, they got to start. I still think they may have like a little bit of a leg up, just in their eyes going into it. But I still think if they make a mistake or the staff doesn't like something they're doing, like they are quick to pull that, pull the leash back and get them out of there. And I think we saw that with Mazuka last year.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. And that might have happened a little bit with Garrett McGuire last year as far as bringing in these wide receivers. Now, McGuire was such a newer coach and, I don't know what all happened, but I could see some of those wide receivers sort of being like, well, they're not going to bring me in here, to bench me.
Yeah.
And I don't know if McGuire had enough sort of oomph to like, no, you're going to block and you're going to do this.
I feel like he was more of a friend to them almost.
Yeah, maybe, possibly. I mean, I'm speculating a little bit, but anyway, that's my two thoughts for the evening. Thanks, guys.
No, I appreciate you calling in, man. Thank you so much.
Husker Wrestling.
Yes, sir. Husker Wrestling.
Thanks, guys.
Later.
I'll add a thought I had, kind of listened to that back and forth. And Rule's comments yesterday, he made a comment about how his role has changed. And he joked with, like, I don't know what I'm doing right now. Because Holgerson has the offense, Butler and Snow have the defense, and Eckler has the special teams. And then you pair that comment with something Dana Holgerson said last year about Emmett Johnson, I believe it was. He didn't name anybody, but he was like, why is this kid not playing? And then next thing you know, Emmett Johnson's playing like crazy. So I think Rule is going to trust Dana to make that call and say, you know what? Yeah, we're paying Pritchett, $750,000, but we're a week away from Cincinnati and he's not performing. Gunner's going to be my left tackle, and Rule's going to say, you know what? I trust you. That's your call. Let's roll with it. Now, if he says, no, we're going with Pritchett, that's his decision, but he's going to put a lot of trust in Dana to make that call.
Yeah, essentially, because Dana's a straight shooter. And Dana's been doing this long enough to know if somebody fits his system. Like, he's been doing this a long while, and he's not going to sugarcoat it. Like, he'll tell you straight up, you're not doing enough, you're not playing, right? And so, like, I think that's where Matt Rule has the trust in him, is not only due to his experience, but due to the fact that Dana Holgerson's his talent evaluation, like we talked about last year with some of the guys and stuff like that, like, he's built up that enough to where people can trust him and Coach Rule can trust him. So, yeah, good call, Joseph. We appreciate that. I'm out. Great show. Throw the bones. People go big red. I think transfers elevate all the tackles. Got no insight to tell me Pritchett being the hand of the spot. Yeah, exactly. Hope we get Bo Bass on the wrestling team. That would be amazing. Yes, it absolutely would. Awesome call, Joseph Gracias. Yes, sir. Appreciate you calling in. All right. Well, I think we're almost at about an hour. Well, Brian's almost at an hour. I'm at like 15 minutes. So my fault on that. Again, my therapy started a little later than was anticipated and went a little longer. So that's my fault. But we'll be back at it, and we'll be on time next week, next Tuesday. So yeah, Brian, is there anything else that you wanted to touch on before we head out?
I got a job finally. So
let's go. Round of applause.
8 weeks of a job search. That was a grind.
The future Texan, Brian. Great. Now you can shop at HEB, and then you'll love your life.
Yeah. The house. Well, our pre-approval will come back tomorrow. We were waiting for me to get a job. So the pre-approval we're getting, the house we want, for one, it's on Arrowhead Vine. And Arrowhead is the name of the Chiefs Stadium.
Yeah,
and Vine is in Kansas City, there's 18th and Vine, which is a historic jazz district in Kansas City.
Oh, Lord.
And so I was like, there's just the stars are kind of aligning here.
Too good to
and
be true.
It's like a mile from an HEB.
Well, that's
the selling point, really.
That's all the reason right there. That's the best grocery store on the planet, no doubt. No doubt.
Yeah. So. My wife was like, I was like, we're canceling Costco. And she was like, why? I was like, they got HEB down there.
Bro, HEB products are better than name brand stuff. And then they got some live music in some of them. Yeah, bro. It's
amazing.
There's a reason why we have a cult-like following for HEB in Texas. So
I can't.
And you'll be by Buc-ee's. Or you'll be in Texas around a bunch of Buc-ee's at least. So.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. Well, John, yes, if you don't mind hitting the like button on our way out. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Brian, for covering down. I really, really appreciate you. Congrats, Brian. Got to feel good. Unpucker a little. Yep.
I was crashing out of work pretty regularly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the stress hopefully has waned a little bit. There's going to be more coming up whenever the move comes, but I think the hardest part is done with. So,
100%.
So, all right. Well, that'll do it for us here. Again, thank you everybody for tuning in, and you can catch us Tuesday on our Tuesday live stream. I'm going to have a video probably coming on either Sunday or Monday for y'all. So, first film review will be dropping, and then I got some more in the sequence coming as well. Just figuring out which days I'm going to drop them for y'all. So, y'all stay tuned for that. Go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell notification so you can be notified whenever we do go live and or drop a video. But with that being said, thank you again for tuning in, and we will see you in the next video. Peace.